Hey little big heroes, it's time for something brand new on the channel, tutorials. Now, I'm not the most advanced when it comes to logic, so instead of demonstrating something inferior, I thought I'd check out a tutorial series by Logic Master NeonTheCoder. If you need any in-depth tutorials, make sure you check out his channel. In today's tutorial, we wanted to show you how to start making a 2D platformer. We will be looking at the basic logic in order to walk left and right, adjusting a jump, and also setting up a custom camera. This will be a series, so you can expect more videos showing more advanced methods as well as adding enemies and maybe even some of our own unique logic. Shaped is an upcoming animated series, and whilst we are learning the tools, we wanted to practice making not only animations but games too. So it hit us, why not make a game based on every animated series we make? By the end of this tutorial series, we will have shaped the game, complete, and hopefully you'll have your own unique 2D platformer to share with us. So let's get into it. Naturally, since we are basing this game on a series about shapes, the main character is a cube. If you want to start off with a cube too, feel free, unless you want to make some other design. But for now, let's focus on the logic. First, you will want your character to stay in place, not to be able to rotate and stay in line with the 2D plane. Add a microchip to your character, open it, and add a gyroscope. This will stabilize the character. With L1 and square, we can open its properties. Set the speed to something extremely high. We set it to around 4000. Maximize the strength and overall dampening. Next, add a follower. We're going to use this to make sure your character only moves left and right in a straight line. Open its properties like we did with the gyroscope. Set the speed to around 1000 with max strength and dampening. We now need to set a tag name so it knows what exactly to follow. You can write anything you want, but we recommend something relevant such as plane. On the second page in the settings, turn everything down to 0 except from Z strength and Z damp, as we don't need the other values. With that out of the way, let's create the tag itself. Place a new tag in your scene and line it up to where you want your ground to be. Edit the tag and enter the same name as you entered in the follower. In this case, we wrote plane. The follower will now line up and stay in line with this tag. Now for some interesting logic, making your character move left and right. In your microchip, place down a controller sensor. This will control what the buttons we press do. You can delete the circle button wire which depossesses the character unless you want the imp to exit the character in your game. It is also inside here where you can see the imp settings. These include if the character needs to be possessed with R2 first, automatically possessed, or if your imp will be visible on the body of your character. These options are entirely up to you, so experiment to get what you're looking for. Before we can link the left stick, we need to place down a splitter and a mover. Wire the left stick on page 2 of the controller sensor up to the splitter, and wire the X wire from the splitter up to the mover. This determines the direction you're pushing the stick. In this case, it's X, left and right. Open up the mover and get ready to adjust its settings. These settings will change depending on your own preferences, but for now you can enter around 15 for speed, 75% for strength, and 100% for dampening. You can experiment with these later to get exactly what you need. Before you leave this menu, on the second page, reduce the Y and Z settings to 0 as we don't need these. The left and right movement is complete. How about adding a jump? To do this, add another microchip inside the microchip we already have. This keeps the logic clean for the jump logic we're about to use. Inside this microchip, we need a node, a counter, a trigger zone, a signal manipulator, and a mover. We can rename this node to jump if you wish, and wire up the X button to jump or any other button you prefer to the node. Wire the node to the positive input of the counter. Wire the counter full to the signal manipulator, and then wire that to the power of the mover, which is on the bottom. Lastly, wire the trigger zone to the reset the counter. Open the trigger zone and set it to detect labels. On the second page, change the trigger shape to a square, reduce its size until it's just lower than your character. This means that when it touches the ground, it will activate and reset the counter. But first we need to define what it needs to touch, as it doesn't know what the ground is. On the third page, set the labels to scenery and objects. It will now activate when it touches any of these things. Now, on the ground in your level, open its settings, go to labels, and set it as scenery and objects. It is now detectable for the trigger zone. In the signal manipulator, set the remapper mode to pulse, which will give your input a sharp activation. Also, set the smooth fall to around 0.5 so your landing is smoother than your jump. Lastly, open the mover and set the strength to 100%, the dampening to 0, and you can change the speed to however high you want the jump to be. We set ours to 5. There's one final thing we need to do with the mover, and that's to select it with X and with the grid turned on. Rotate the directional arrow to face upwards. Now it knows where it's going when it turns on. And that's everything you need to know in order to get basic movement and jump mechanics working. Next, we will implement a camera which will follow your character as it moves around your level. Place down a square and attach a microchip. Copy over the gyroscope from the character. Place down a new follower with the following settings to get you started: 32 speed, 45% strength, and 70% dampening, and enter a tag called player. Now add a new tag to your character called player, and the camera will follow you everywhere. Now all we need is the actual camera. Place one down and this time open with L1 and X. The camera angle is completely up to you. If you want your level to look flat like a 2D game, you will need to narrow the FOV by holding up on the D-pad. If you'd like to keep a more 3D camera to make a 2.5D level like you'd expect from Little Big Planet, keep it as it is. All of these settings can be tweaked. They are by no means the only settings you can use. Try out your creation in play mode and change things to your liking. In the next tutorial we will be looking at some more advanced techniques and adding some enemies. If you enjoyed this tutorial, why not like and subscribe? And don't forget to check out NeonTheCoder for more tutorials. What 2D games are you planning to make? Let us know down in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next streams video.